So Dana, we're back in Abu Dhabi. I'm sure your room's up to your satisfaction. Am I right?
Yeah, my room is good. My room is good. My gym is good. I'm good.
Is it fun coming back here still? I mean, I know we all want the crowds to come back in America, but until then, is Abu Dhabi as good as a place as you can come?
Yeah, it's incredible. And every time that it's time to come here, I'm ready to get the hell out of the United States again. So the timing is always perfect.
We have fans in attendance for UFC 257 and these cards leading up to it. I know it's not the full arena that you want, but is part of you excited to at least hear some sort of fandom? Are you excited to give that back to the audience?
Yeah, I would love to have everybody back, but I don't know if that's going to happen for a while. But yeah, listen, this is not the decision that I would make, but this is what these guys wanted to do, and I'll do anything they want. So we're doing it.
Why exactly do you feel that way? Is that just because you want to make the return of fans a big deal and you think it needs to have that spectacle? And is that why?
100%. It's just when we open an arena up to fans again, it's going to be like the first time we went to Toronto. It's going to be the first time we went to New York City. It's going to be a big, massive event like that. And, sell out, place will be packed, the place will be going crazy. Most of the people won't have been to a live event in over a year or however long it's going to be, and I just think it's a lot more special, and it'll be so much better when we can sell out.
Do you think you'll stack the card with like crazy fights, 3 title fights or something like that?
100%.
I mean, it's too early to say, but are you hoping for that maybe August, July sort of time? Do you have any idea?
I'm not hoping at all. I'm just focused on what we got to do now, and when one of these states is ready to try and open up, I'll be the first to do it with them.
Do you miss the fans? I know you love your job and it's hard work and stuff, but the payoff surely is fight night when you can hear the crowd. Do you miss that?
Yeah, it's funny because, we've been doing this so long, it feels like now that you kind of get used to the Apex now and over here and all this stuff. But when we put together these promos and I see the shots of the crowd and something happens and the fans go crazy, yeah, it reminds me of how awesome it was when we had everybody there.
I don't know about you. I quite like watching fights in the Apex because you can hear more and it's a unique experience. I don't think it takes away from the fights. But when you see something like Dustin Poirier versus Dan Hooker or something, and you could imagine what the fans would be like, that's when you sort of get the tingles, right?
100%, yeah. Some of the fights that we've watched through this pandemic, if the crowds were there, it would have been... I mean, think about the Joaquin Buckley.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Joaquin Buckley knockout,
Well, there was no crowd in there, and I feel like there was still noise.
Yeah, exactly. No, there have been a couple of those like that. But, there are these fights that will happen. Kevin Holland's knockout of Jacare. I mean, just some of these things that we've seen have been so awesome. You can just imagine what it would have been like with a sold-out house.
Well, we'll move on to the return of Conor McGregor. It's a nice way to start off the year. You said a couple of times now that you can see the difference between him when he's motivated and when he's not. In your mind, what is the biggest difference when you speak to him that maybe pre-Khabib or something like that wasn't there? What's the biggest difference?
Details. He wants to know every little detail of the arena, the walk, and he's totally just starts to geek out on everything. And, when he's not there, when he's not really in that mode, he doesn't give a shit, and he's just not as sharp. He's not as sharp about every little detail that goes on. He's almost like, I always talk about Rogan and I. When Rogan and I talk about fights and we get it, Rogan and I can be on the phone for an hour freaking out about a fight that we're excited about, and we get into all these different things. Conor gets that way too, on that level when he's about to fight and when he's mentally really into it and he's on. And he's been saying, get ready because you're going to see some spectacular things on Saturday and everything, and I believe every word of it. And what excites me is Dustin Poirier is saying, if you think that I'm the same guy that I was before, and both of these guys are in the right place for this fight, and I think it's going to be great.
Is it fun when Conor's like this?
Yeah, it's so much fun.
You mentioned Dustin Poirier, and he said that he's not the same fighter. I think that's pretty obvious. In your mind, is his turnaround from the loss to Conor to becoming this guy who can get in these 5-round wars, like these gritty battles and stick through them, is that one of the more surprising turnarounds, or did you know Dustin always had that in it?
Well, I think that, the reason, you're saying, I think we all know that, Dustin. I don't think we all do know that. I think a lot of people, especially early on when we announced this fight, are completely overlooking Dustin. And I think he feels that. And the more the fight gets closer, I think he's just letting everybody know that, I am definitely not the same guy. You're not going to see the same fight. Yet, on the flip side, you're hearing Conor telling us all we're going to see something
out in 60 seconds, I think.
Blow our mind and all this stuff. So my point is these guys are both in the right place for this type of a fight. It's exciting.
Are you happy to hear Conor wants to stay active? Does that excite you? That, obviously fans are not, there's no gate, but are you happy to hear that Conor wants to stay active as much as possible?
Yeah, of course. Let me tell you what, if 2021 is going to bring us the Conor that's here in UAE right now, and this is what we're going to get for the next year, I love it. I'm in. I'm excited.
Co-main event, you got Dan Hooker versus Michael Chandler. Is it exciting when you have a guy coming from outside, coming into the UFC? Does that sort of give it a little special flair?
Yeah, I think it's fun because when you have somebody that's been talked about that's fought in one of the other leagues for a long time, and everybody wants to see what he's got against the top tier in the UFC, it's always exciting. I mean, Ben Askren brought that excitement in too when he got here.
Does the winner of the co-main fight the winner of the main, or do you have to still see if Gaethje and Oliveira fight, how that works out? What's your mindset? Obviously, we've got the Khabib question too.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. I mean, look at Oliveira. I mean, look at what this guy has done. We offered him this fight. He couldn't make the weight, so you can't blame the guy for that. But coming off the performance that he just put on against Tony, it's hard to overlook him.
I know you haven't spoken to Khabib yet, but when you do you already have the pitch in mind? Do you know what you're going to say?
There's going to be no pitch. This is going to be a 5-minute conversation.
Just, do you want to fight again, yes or no?
Yeah.
Here's a lot of money.
We went through all the, he said, when he fought last time and it was here, he was hurt, emotional, the stuff that guy had to face and had to deal with leading up to that fight was crazy. And the way that he performed under that type of pressure, physically and emotionally, is so badass. So he's had plenty of time off, plenty of time to think, plenty of time to talk to family members, digest all of this, and get healthy. So this is going to be a real quick conversation.
Any concerns him and Conor running into each other in the lobby?
No, I think that these guys will be professional, and I think that we have mapped out the routes so that, listen, we're on a small island here. Anything is possible, but no, I'm
still a cage on the beach they could go meet each other in it.
Yeah, we don't need that either.
Do you, you mentioned the other...
got a cage in 4 months they can meet in if that's what they want to do.
Fair enough. And it would make you a bit more cash too, right? Do you, you mentioned the other day on Instagram you have a surprise waiting for the Pirates in the sport. Do you mind giving us a little hint what that is?
We've been one of the leagues that has been so proactive on piracy. And I love how cool and tough these guys act on social media. Because let me tell you what, we've caught a lot of people. And let me tell you what they do. They cry, and they cry. They cry and they beg not to be prosecuted and all this other stuff. So we just overcame a huge hurdle in the piracy world, and we're gonna catch some of these guys in 2021, and I look forward to the crying and the begging, and we'll see how tough they are when they get caught.
Taking it personally by any chance?
Not at all. I'm just saying, listen, you're a criminal. You're a criminal, and you want to, now I got guys. I love this one. Listen to this one. There's a guy right now who literally, after I said this thing, so if you go through my Instagram and look on all the comments, there's a guy saying, DM me if you want to get the fight this weekend. He's stealing people's information. So people that are DMing him, he's stealing their information. He's taking your money from your bank and charging your credit card. These guys are fucking scumbag criminals. Don't listen to them.
That's fucking illegal.
Exactly, that is fucking illegal. These guys are scumbags, they're criminals, and they're bad guys. DM them, see what happens. I love it.
I enjoy your reaction too. Can you do me a favor? Could you make Tony Ferguson versus Nate Diaz, please?
We're working on a Nate Diaz fight right now, and it's not Tony, but if we get it done, I think you're going to like it.
Welterweight or lightweight?
Lightweight.
Lightweight. He's returning back to 155?
55, yeah.
Nice. And if he wins, Conor wins, Khabib's gone.
I don't know. I don't know. Let's see if we can get this fight done. But yeah, I would put him in a really good position if he won the fight. And the guy who he could potentially be fighting, I think it's a great fight for him too.
Is the other lightweight another welterweight that's going back to 155?
No.
Okay. Do we have an update on Jorge Masvidal and Colby Covington?
No.
How much do you die inside when the media ask you for all these future predictions at every press conference?
Yeah, no, it's the worst. Obviously, we want to put on the best fights possible. We're always working on these fights. I don't like to talk about them because when you talk about them, it makes it even harder to get them done. Okay. If we can get them done behind the scenes and then announce them, it's great. Back in the days when all you guys were trying to break, I got to be first and say, oh, they're working on this, and oh, that was just it's a nightmare. And it rarely ever works out when it gets leaked out. It does, but it's a lot harder for us.
Is your job harder, outside of all the pandemic shit, is your job harder making fights now anyway just because the sport's getting bigger and there's more money involved? Is it harder to make those bigger fights these days?
No, it's not harder to make bigger fights. There's always some weird little, when you break into the top 5, there's always some weird little, or become a big star. You're a guy that can sell pay-per-views, or a girl that sell pay-per-views. Those are the things that make it a little more difficult. Everybody acts like they'd fight anybody, but that's not accurate. And I don't like to come out and say, oh, this guy didn't want to fight this guy. I'd rather not even talk about it. We'll just make another fight.
I did want to ask you about one sort of speculative fight. I'm sorry to just make you talk about it and then do what I'm just accused you of hating. You said Robert Whittaker needs to fight someone else before he fights for the middleweight title. Are you guys working on a fight between him and Paulo Costa?
Well, I can tell you Paulo Costa and his team are terrorizing us to make that fight. Yeah. I would make that fight, though. Yeah, I would make that fight.
Not for an interim title, though?
No.
Okay. And last thing from me, Khabib versus Conor was the biggest fight we ever saw in this sport. It did over 2 million pay-per-view buys, right? How big do you think a rematch is? Give us a ballpark figure of pay-per-view buys for a rematch between those two, especially if Conor looks as focused as he sounds.
This Conor fight right now on, what day was it? What day did we leave Vegas? Monday? Yeah, so Monday we were flying. This fight is already trending huge. So, and this is Poirier Conor too, where I was just telling you guys earlier, some people don't believe that Poirier has, whatever. Khabib versus Conor too is massive.
Like Floyd Mayweather massive, do you think?
I don't know if anything. We did that whole world tour and all the hype and energy to get over 4 million buys, again. But I believe that fight could do between 2.5 and 3 million pay-per-view buys.
Especially if you get rid of all the scumbag pirates.
Well, they're never all going to go away. I mean, they're never all going to go away. They're going to be out there. And we're not trying to get rid of all of them. I just want to catch a few. That's all I'm looking for. I just want to catch a few. Not trying to, you can't shut the whole thing down. That piracy industry is going to go on forever. Let me catch a few and watch what happens. And I will. Oh, it's coming. They think they're slick and they think they're whatever. The same thing was going on with piracy in homes and in bars. And we caught a lot of people.
You're a sadistic man, Dana.